Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today started out their sweet journey when they both got themselves ice cream makers during the holidays, which has led to many smiles as they scoop up a lot of ice cream these past 6 years. Welcome the owners of Kelly's Homemade Ice Cream, Kelly and Scott Seidl. How's it going, guys?
Good. Thanks for having us today.
Yeah, good. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So before we start during my lunch break, I have to ask, favorite sandwich? What's your go-to sandwich?
I'll let Scott go first.
I'm a big fan of sandwiches. Probably just a Italian sub.
Okay.
You know, but I also love a bacon, egg, and cheese in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
So, you want either of those.
Can't go wrong with either one of those. What about you, Kelly?
Anything from Swine and Sons. I love Swine and Sons. Their hot chicken sandwich is amazing.
Yes.
So I always get that when I can get it catered. We just had our daughter's birthday catered with them. So.
Which makes sense because they're actually obsessed with you guys. I actually see them more often here than I actually do at Swine and Sons, which is quite funny. So let's tell everybody. So I started in the intro talking about how you guys got yourselves ice cream makers. So that's true, right? You guys got, during the holidays, you both bought each other ice cream makers?
Yep. It was our first Christmas married. So we had every gift under the sun from just getting married, right? And then for Christmas, he got me a Cuisinart attachment, like ice cream maker, and then I got him an ice cream maker, and it kind of all started from there.
Yeah, I don't remember who opened their present first, but they must have been, whoever opened theirs first knew the other person was getting the same thing.
Yep.
It must have been, I don't remember who opened first, though.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And then once you guys started that, then it was like, okay, let's just start making ice cream for everyone, or what was how did it evolve? Because obviously this has moved, you went from making ice cream, and I know obviously, Kelly, you sold ice cream. You were an ice cream scooper, and you sold ice cream while you were going to nursing school. So what's the story like? How did it develop? What's the progression, I guess?
Yeah, that was actually we were still in New York at that Christmas, and we actually weren't living in Florida yet. And it took a couple of years from that ice cream maker to actually making ice cream. We moved to Orlando, realized there was not a lot of homemade ice cream in the area, and so we just decided maybe we could do it ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah, just to back up, though, a little bit, we usually glass over, this part of the story, but, I mean, for years, we were going into ice cream shops and, just, looking at all the little details, all the different flavors and what we liked about the shop and what we didn't like about it. And so I don't know where it really came from. It probably was Kelly's idea originally, and I just always wanted to have a business. And so, even before we bought each other ice cream makers, I think we were already, wouldn't it be great if we had an ice cream shop? And, we would go into all these ice cream shops and just look around and see what we liked and what we didn't like.
I think a portion of it stemmed from the place I worked at. My boss was I would say, can we paint, it's a stark white building inside and out. And I was like, can we just paint something? No. Can we do this? No. So I think all these no's led up to this, this is what I want to do. Yeah. And it's kind of fun, and it's a creative side to doing things.
Yeah, I think Kelly knew she could probably do it better, or do it differently at least, and she thought, it'd be better, which I think it is.
So then obviously during those years, you guys kind of developed your recipe for your ice creams then during those years before you actually moved to Orlando.
No, that we started down here. Yeah, after a couple of years of being here.
Yeah, we moved, that was December of 2010, and we moved in May of 2011. So we really didn't start making ice cream in probably our house until maybe 2012 or so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I lost track of time.
Yeah, we made it on the countertop style for a little bit, and then it just is a lot of work, and you don't make a lot of ice cream. So then we started looking for researching options for commercial ice cream machines.
And so then you guys actually had commercial ice cream machines in your house, right?
Yeah, we had a commercial a batch freezer in our house. Got it off Craigslist down in Tampa.
No, well,
Sarasota.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy was making Italian ice for Little Leagues, and he actually got really sick and had to sell it off. And we picked it up for $7,500 off Craigslist, and then we had it in our house. We rented a U-Haul, brought it up here, had an electrician come out and install 220 in our dining room, and then it was a water-cooled machine, so I ran a hose from the garden in through the window from the faucet in the garden into the window, and to cool the machine. Like that water went nowhere near the product, but it was just there to cool the compressor. And then the hose went back out into the garden and just drained out there. And yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, our neighbors definitely thought we were crazy. Like, you know, what are y'all doing? Like, what's
You got a hot tub inside the house.
Yeah. Well, the first time we went to, like, before we went and did our first event, we took our tent out and we took our freezer out and our little sink and all the tables, and we set it up at the end of our driveway, just as like a test. Like, we weren't looking to sell any ice cream, but our neighbors come out and they're like, "So are you guys trying to sell ice cream here?" We're like, "Well, no. This is just, we got an event coming this Friday in Baldwin, so we just wanted to make sure we had everything, you know, planned out properly."
I'm quite familiar with that. I do that quite often when I'm trying to set up new setups. So I'm like, I set up everything in my middle of my garage or driveway and just try to play around. So I totally get that. And then you guys started doing farmers markets. How long did you guys go from farmers markets to buying the ice cream truck?
We started our first market in May of 2014, and then we got our truck in January 2015, and we got it on the road March 1st, 2015.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bringing that, we had a freezer. We still have the original freezer here.
It's right behind me.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We shoved that thing in the back of my CRV when we first bought it. That was a very interesting experience, all the way down I-4 from Altamont Springs. And taking that thing in and out of the trailer was like a lot of work. There was a lot of tears because I'd be trying to go to an event and I couldn't get the dang thing up in the trailer. Scott built like a ramp because we couldn't find one like that would work. That was a struggle, and that's why the truck is great.
Yeah, the truck was a big upgrade, but it's not what Kelly wanted at first. She wanted to go to a shop. She didn't really like the truck for some reason. I think it was, you know, it didn't feel as personable. Like, you're up here above the person in this truck, and she's used to standing behind a dipping cabinet from when, you know, she worked in high school and college and just having a conversation with people. But I think the truck was like a perfect stepping stone for us, and it was a big improvement over just lugging the cart around with the trailer and yeah.
It was a lot less risky, you know. The money we put into it wasn't as much as the brick and mortar. We wanted to see if we could do it well. So
yeah, that's one thing we've always done. Like, we started small. I mean, everything to get started at the farmers markets was just, we were both still working full time, so we just bought everything ourselves with our savings. And then we got a $50,000 loan from the SBA to get the truck, and then we opened the shop with it too. So
Yeah, I was going to ask because that moved pretty quick as well. You went from like truck, and I remember because that's when I first was introduced to you guys, and all of a sudden I know opportunity came. The Corinne location was originally was like a Italian ice cream type shop, and became available. And then all of a sudden you guys went with like, hey, it's available. I guess it's Kismet, right? How did that conversation go? Because I mean, it moved pretty quick from. I mean, maybe a year. Was it less than a year from the time you had your truck? Right? Not even.
It's 4 months, right?
It was a few months. It was actually, could have been quicker, but we actually turned it down the first time. We had just gotten the truck on the road. I'm always cruising through Craigslist. Don't ask me why, but I still do, and I find most neatest things ever. And they had up for sale in like March of 2015, and we just had gotten the truck on the road, and I was like, no, we don't have the time right now. Let's get this started.
And you also loved this location. Like, we had the truck over at Baldwin, or over at East End. We know East End. We'd spend time there, and Kelly was just always looking at the spot. Like, so she had, before she ever saw that it was for sale, she was like, this spot would be great for an ice cream shop.
Yeah. And then we turned it down the first time around, and then the owners came back to us about a month or two later in June and said, hey, we need somebody to take this over. And so we're like, okay, we're ready. So it was from March or...
At that point, we sort of had all the leverage in the situation.
Yeah.
So, you know, we had got really good terms. Basically, didn't give him anything up front, and he just held the note for a year. And we opened this up with we just turned it over. We just changed the paint colors and just opened up as Kelly's.
The name of Kelly's. Was there any time where it was going to be use your last name, or it was going to be a mix? Like, was it always Kelly's? We were curious about that because we were talking about that last night. We were going through. I mean, did you guys was it going to be a Seidl's? Was it going to be Kelly's? Was it going to be, at one point this guy goes, hey, what about me? I want my name on it. You know, how did that go about?
It's funny. So I'll tell the story because I don't know. We're both sitting on our computers one day, in our spare bedroom, and she's like, okay, so what are we going to call it? And I think, where she worked at was Tasty Cream, and I think she threw out something like that, or Twisty Treat. It was like something that like had nothing to do with, was just like a generic ice cream type name. And I just turned, I'm like, no, it's going to be Kelly's Homemade Ice Cream. And she's like, okay. And that was the name. Like, it took us 30 seconds. Like, there was no discussion whatsoever. And I came up with the name, so.
And my mom still is like, is Scott okay with this? I'm like, yes, he's fine with this. So he's, yeah.
No, I absolutely love it. I love it. I even love the colors. If you've never been, like, there's a method to their madness. Because obviously I know the color's very Neapolitan, with the pink, the white, the brown. So it's very, definitely that aspect of it. So I definitely understand and I appreciate it. And that, I'm absolutely amazed by, because when I met them, because they're very involved in the community. That's like the one thing that I truly appreciate. And I wanted to get an idea of what your thoughts are in being involved so highly in a community, because I see you with, my daughter goes to school around the corner from Kelly's Homemade Ice Cream on Corinne. So I see them at constantly their ice cream trucks there. I see them at Ronald McDonald House events, for charity events, for runs. I also see them, they gave out ice cream after the Pulse, the whole thing horrific with Pulse. So, I mean, they're constantly involved and it all makes sense based on what I've seen from even like kind of like the game plan or at least what I think is your game plan, or how things have kind of laid out, is that you want to be part of that neighborhood. Is that correct? What are your thoughts on the importance of being involved in your community?
I think it's extremely important, and that's why our shops are positioned where they are, in the middle of communities. We're not out on a major highway. I just love being part of the community. I come from a very small town in upstate New York, and it's very tight-knit. And I think that's really kind of where it stems from. I grew up going to church, very involved in the school. My mom was always involved. And I just feel like, you give back and you get back kind of thing. And I don't know, I love being involved. I love doing events. I love waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning to do races. It's so much fun. And meeting the people, and it's just amazing how I still go out and they're like, they've never heard of Kelly's. And I'm like, great, we still have another customer to go. So,
Yeah, we've started over the last 6 months working more on the business, and one of the things we're trying to do is sort of like figure out our vision going forward. And we've decided we're about homemade ice cream and good customer service, and also like being involved in the community is up there with how good the ice cream is. It's like it's that important to us, and that's sort of what we've decided. And we don't spend a marketing budget, so going to the schools and giving all the teachers ice cream for free, and around, we don't do it to every school, but we do it for a lot of different things, and just donating ice cream for the Ronald McDonald House when they were doing their ice cream socials and all that kind of stuff. That's where if we had a big marketing budget, it goes there instead. So
no, it makes total sense. I absolutely love it, and it's true. I take great pride, because obviously word of mouth is so important when it comes to that type of stuff, when it comes to marketing. And I take a lot of pride when I know that I'm taking people for the first time, or have them said, hey, have you had Kelly's? And they're like, no. And we'll be like, oh, come on. And we'll go out to dinner. And I'm like, I always end the night, if we're somewhere in the area, I always end the night at a Kelly's, because then it's like, one, I need any excuse I can to get here to get ice cream. So I kind of understand that aspect of it, but I do absolutely love the fact that you guys are so involved with the community. I think it's just amazing to be able to see when you guys. And I guess one of the big things I was also kind of looking at was, how are you guys dealing with, because you opened this location, you opened the Corinne one, Fern Creek happened. Was it like in a course of a year or something like that? Year and a half? Corinne, you guys opened the Fern Creek location?
We opened that October of 2017.
Okay.
And that's kind of a fun story. So our ice cream truck used to go there back in March and April of 2015. And Joyce, the owner of the coffee garden, I had formed a relationship with her. We would come by with the truck until we got kicked out from code enforcement. And I've always loved that location. I ran the OUC half marathon in 2012 or 13 and ran past that shop when it was for lease before the coffee garden. I'm like, that would be a perfect ice cream shop. long story short, Joyce got it before me. She decided to end her lease in April and May of 2017. I was 9 months pregnant, signed the lease, and I said, we'll open in 6 months. So we turned that into an ice cream shop as well. And we opened that in like 4 months, 4 or 5 months.
Didn't we sign the lease?
Yeah.
Yeah, the day we came home from the hospital with Nora.
Yep. Yeah. So, but I just knew like something about it. It was a soda fountain back in the day.
Yeah.
I just love the location, and it's fabulous. It has this little quirky. It's a little different than Corinne, but I love that location.
That's probably my favorite shop. I
Really?
love that place. Yeah, it's just such a cool little building, and it was, like she said, it was called Downey Sundries until I think the original. I forget the woman's first name, but her last name was Downey, and they had candies and ice cream, and she might have done burgers and hot dogs. I don't remember, but she had it until the late 80s. She sold it, and then it was around for a couple more years as Downey Sundries, and then they sold it again, and it changed name. But yeah, it's sort of cool because it was, it's like just a little neighborhood candy shop and ice cream shop, and we sort of brought it back to that.
And then during the pandemic, you opened your third location, the Oviedo one, which was interesting, to say the least, having to deal with all of that. And I know that was, so I mean, you guys have definitely, in the course of 6 years, you guys have opened 3 locations, well, I guess truck, and then 3 locations, which is absolutely amazing. How, like, is it just one of those where you're just like, hey, we're just gonna, do you guys have, I've always been kind of curious, do you guys have like I don't know. I called it originally a circle of trust, but like I guess a group of people that you can bounce ideas off of, or or you have this conversation, or is it just the two of you kind of going, I think this works, and you just get a gut feeling and go, or how is all that going? Because I mean, there's definitely a level. I could see a level of. There's definitely a level of fear of like, okay, I'm opening another one. Am I opening too fast? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many things that can go through your mind. We tend to become our own hurdles. So like, how do you guys get over the hurdles and keep moving forward?
I don't know.
Yeah, just going back to it, we just usually have a lot of conversations. Sometimes we'll pull other people in.
Well, at this point, we have Kristen and Katie, who Katie's our production, in charge of production, and Kristen sort of over the shops. And they're on our leadership team now, so they're involved with like any of these types of decisions now. So they're a big help. We had the SBA, had a board of advisors there, which we still have, but I think we're about at the end of our they let you do this advisory plan for a year or two. So we've bounced ideas off them in the past. Mm-hmm. Don't ask family if you're going to a small business, because they have the best intentions but the worst ideas usually. Sorry, mom and dad. What else?
Yeah, I think just going with your gut. Like I always say we do things like untraditionally or backwards. Oviedo, I drove past it on my birthday. I was like, that's a spot right next to the Townhouse restaurant. I was like, just something felt good about it. And we don't do all the research we probably should and all of that.
That was a big learning experience, Oviedo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, full build out. A lot of money.
Yeah, and just a lot of mistakes we made. We didn't do enough research.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's okay.
But going forward, we learn from our mistakes, and I don't have the background in restaurants. I'm a nurse. Like, this is not my thing at all. We've learned a lot. I learned a lot.
Yeah, and our process has always been like, try to plan the best we can, but just go and do the thing. Like whether it was like the first time we loaded up the truck or the trailer to take the ice cream to Baldwin to sell at one of their markets, it was like, okay, we loaded up the truck with like, Kelly had boxes of everything we could ever possibly need, and we're there unloading all these boxes and stuff, and it's like, every time you just learn a little bit. It's like, so after the first time, it's like, okay, we didn't need any of this stuff. We're not going to waste our time carrying these other boxes. We're going to leave those in the garage. And you just get better and better and better. And after a year of doing that event, we were like so efficient, and just you learn. That's the best way to do it, because you can't just overanalyze everything, and then you never do anything, so. That's
right. It's paralysis of analysis.
Yeah, exactly.
Is what ends up being. So I know you guys have over 100 recipes for when it comes to that. Where do you and Scott come up with the flavors? I know obviously you guys mentioned that you guys would go to a lot of different coffee, ice cream shops and stuff like that, but where do you guys come up with all those and experimentations?
A lot of it is just based off inspiration, what we've seen at other ice cream shops. I look at Pinterest, kind of think about like the chocolate fluffernutter, for example. I always went home from school and mixed chocolate or mixed peanut butter and fluff together, and didn't actually make a sandwich out of it. I just ate it like mixed up because I was nuts, and that's kind of where chocolate fluffernutter came from because I love chocolate. Maple bourbon bacon was somebody who was getting married and they wanted bacon and maple in something, so that turned into maple bourbon bacon. I get ideas from customers all over the place. We have a big long list of things that we need to try.
Yeah, I was going to say customers and employees too now are the newest thing. I mean, in the beginning, it was just sort of not that difficult. Like, Kelly likes brownies and peanut butter and chocolate, so chocolate peanut butter brownie. Like, that sounds amazing. Like, she's like, okay, I'm going to put peanut butter and chocolate brownies in this chocolate ice cream. Like, that sounds great. That's an awesome idea. But it's really not that complicated, So, yeah, but, we just test a lot of different things, and yeah, employees and customers recently have been giving us a lot of good ideas too. So we got a long list of things we want to try.
Yep. I had like some leftover peanut butter fudge from the holidays. So I threw that in some vanilla. So that's going to be something next month with some pretzels in it.
That's awesome. What would you say is your particular recipe for success? I always tell people that they try to find that secret sauce, but what's your recipe for success with Kelly's Homemade Ice Cream?
I just would say, like, don't be afraid of hard work. It takes a lot of work. Like, some people think it's so easy, and it's really hard sometimes. Especially when we first started, we had no idea what we were doing, and you just got to push through it. And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she's sort of talking to other people, but I think she's got a point there. It's like we didn't start with. I've thought about this over the years. Is like if you don't have the money, you have to start with the work. It's like, if you had $250,000 to go and open an ice cream shop, you could do it and have all the equipment laid out exactly how you wanted it and yada yada. But if you don't have that, then you have to make up for that difference in work. And it's so it's just more work to get started because we didn't have a lot of money to get started. And over the years, we're still investing most of the money back into the business because we're like, okay, well, at some point, and now it's been probably a couple years, at some point we had to get rid of all these, white chest freezers that we picked up at Lowe's that we stored all the ice cream in, and now eventually we got a walk-in finally after a couple of years, and then, so it's like, that's a good point, I think, is like just in the beginning it's hard work because we didn't have the money, but, so it's just don't be afraid of that hard work and listen to Kelly. She's sort of like the visionary, so like, she's picked out all the shops, she's, just driven us, and we just, work on getting it done, basically. If she's got some ideas, and she always does, then we just got to figure out how to make them happen.
No, it makes total sense. I love it. So tell me a little bit about so next iteration, basically kind of like, and this is one of the things I love is that you guys are constantly kind of looking at different areas. Cause like the ice cream truck, even though you had the ice cream truck still in use, still being one of those things. I've seen some places that once they open a brick and mortar, their truck is just sitting there, but you guys actually use it for catering events, use it to be able to kind of I would almost call it like your mobile marketing machine. So it kind of allows you to go to different places. So, and the next iteration that I'm noticing is I know that there's going to be these Kelly's countertops, which you're going to tell me a little bit more about. I'm kind of curious about is how did that kind of all come together? Was it someone came to you? Did you come to them? Was it just kind of, once again, one of those where like, hey, this would be a good idea, and it just kind of happened? Care to give me a little bit of an idea? And I know this is something that's actually in the future, so you will be seeing this in the future, which means more Kelly in more neighborhoods.
Yeah. So last year before COVID, we had met Alex and Ian from Foxhill Coffee reached out to us about a project in Maitland. And that project got shelved because of COVID. And back in this past January, there's this location up near Goldfish Swim School up on the corner of like Howell Branch and Lakemont, and there's this empty lot, and I'm like, that would be perfect for an ice cream shop. It's in the middle of a community. There's nothing up there like it. And so I was just on my computer one night. I said, I think I'm going to shoot Alex an email to see if he'd be interested in like doing something, developing this land somehow. I'm like, I know it's crazy, and Scott's like, just do it. So I emailed him, and he said no, because they have some experience with like land developing. That is not something I don't want to get involved with. And so he said, no, I have something close by, but still let's get together and talk about Maitland. So we got together, talked about Maitland. And long story short, over the course of like a 48-hour period, these Kelly's counters kind of came into fruition. They were going to pursue a concept with some of their spaces, and so they kind of decided they wanted to pull in us instead. So we are going to be opening up. Actually, we should be opening up next week or the week after in Howell Branch, and it's up in, like northeast side of Winter Park, almost Seminole County. Actually, it is in Seminole County. So a Kelly's counter is going to serve the same great homemade ice cream in a smaller footprint than our traditional scoop shops. The menus will differ by the number of flavors offered, but will include scoops, pints, shakes, waffle cones, and dog pops. So it's a smaller version of our scoop shops with a limited menu.
And for me, I'm very excited because I can actually create ice cream donut sandwiches, getting ice cream from that Maitland location, and across the street is Donut King.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And you can make some killer ice cream donut sandwiches there. Not that I've thought of it when I've driven by at all when I saw it, but yeah, that's one of those things where I'm super excited because being able to create kind of, I would almost say a more cost effective, obviously, rather than having to create a whole spot, being able to go and do that. I mean, I think that's absolutely amazing. I also love the fact that you guys are always kind of forward thinking. Has this always been the thought process? Like when you said, hey, I kind of want to, like when you guys originally started talking, was this always kind of the thought process of like you had this grand vision, or did the vision start obviously smaller in the sense of like, oh, I want to open an ice cream shop or the truck, and then we'd love to have a location, and then it just kind of, I guess, the scoops kept growing and growing and building, or was it always something like you guys, I've always wanted to have this is something I've always wanted to have, multiple locations and multiple places to sell ice cream?
Looking back, I never thought we would be where we are today. I thought it would just be the truck, and then the shop fell on our laps, and we did that. I never thought we would keep doing it, but you just kind of get this excitement and this motivation, and I don't know. Sometimes it's like I get exhausted and just stop for a bit, and then sometimes I'm like, let's get going again. It's exciting. It's but never envisioned the counters. I never envisioned more than one shop. It's just people all the time email me or message me like, when are you going to open up here? When are you going to open up there? And I always ask Scott, like, why do people ask me that? Like, does every other business owner get asked when they're going to open up a pizza or sandwich shop someplace?
When it's good.
Yeah, when it's good. Yeah, I mean, in the beginning we had I don't think we ever thought it would be like this, or that we were thinking more than one shop. I mean, I may have more than Kelly, but I definitely don't think she was in the beginning. But we started here, working every night, closing every night, and then we decided, well, we need to like have a balance. So we put some people in place to like help us close so that we didn't have to be here every night. And then it was like, okay, well, we have a little bit more free time. It's like, well, I guess we could, I don't know, maybe do another one of these now. It's like, well, what else are we going to work on? Well, we might as well open another one. But no, I don't think we ever thought we would have three now with our deal with Foxtail having some counters too. So
Last ones, because obviously I'm running late for my lunch here. So a few last ones. One, Kelly, you're still working as a NICU nurse, right?
I work in the OR actually.
But you still work as a nurse though, right?
Yeah, I just take call very infrequently.
Still, that's pretty amazing. Scott, is Kelly's home full time, or do you also do also work something as well?
No, I do this full time. I left my job when we opened this shop because I was full time like accountant, and I couldn't really do it part time. Kelly has just slowly over the years gone from 3 days a week to 2 days to one, and now she's finally taking call every other week. So, but it's tough to balance, but she still loves doing it, I think. So
that's awesome. So give people an idea, where can they find you, where can they support you? Give it, kind of like your plug, be able to tell people where to go. If you haven't, obviously, if you follow me, you know where I go get ice cream. But obviously by all means, take the floor. Any advice or anything that you want to be able to use and tell people about where they can find Kelly's Homemade Ice Cream.
Yeah, we have 3 shops currently, 2 in Orlando and 1 in Oviedo. We have a couple counters underway 2 counters and some fun information that we just signed a lease for a Windermere Winter Garden location coming probably this fall. Yeah, and we have catering, weddings. We do all sorts of different things and love to support the local community.
Yeah, I think that covers it pretty good.
And we're an open book, too. If anyone ever has any questions, sometimes
Right.
people can always ask us and email us. So I love to share our story.
Yeah. The one thing, if you that I mentioned in the beginning, is the fact of like the smile. Like, one of the things that I loved hearing is that, and it's something so true, that I don't think I've ever seen someone not smile when they're getting ice cream. So I think that's absolutely amazing, the smiles that you obviously give, and you give many every single day. So that's definitely awesome. So that's our show for today. Thank you so much to Kelly and Scott of Kelly's Homemade Ice Cream for being on and having lunch with me. Definitely make sure to check them out online. Definitely get some ice cream. I love to see, as much as I like seeing sandwich selfies, I'll definitely take some ice cream selfies. Make sure to tag Kelly when you do. If you enjoyed the show, definitely make sure to subscribe. If you want to support, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads. Do some shopping and tell your friends. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, guys.